It all started with the simple question: have you ever felt invisible in your own life? It's a question that echoes a terrifying truth for so many. For 5 years, I was a ghost in my own story, playing a supporting role in someone else's epic. I convinced myself that a few crumbs of attention were a feast of love, but the truth was a slow, suffocating surrender of my soul. My name is Ava Rodriguez, a 28-year-old corporate attorney in New York City, and this is the story of how the greatest betrayal wasn't being cheated on, but cheating myself out of the life I deserved. I had everything a woman my age was told she should want: a hotshot doctor fiancé, a penthouse apartment in Manhattan, and a career path that promised unimaginable success. But behind the shimmering facade, my light was fading, stolen by the man I was supposed to marry. Dr. Julian Harrison was the dream man every mother hoped for. Handsome, ambitious, with a future so bright it cast a shadow over everything in his orbit. He loved me, but only when I fit neatly into his plans, a perfect accessory to his perfect life. If I shined too brightly or dared to need more space, I became an inconvenient obstacle to be sidestepped. My journey to freedom began with a misfiled invitation, a simple piece of paper hidden away like a shameful secret. It unlocked not only the truth about Julian, but the shocking revelation of who I could be once I stopped shrinking myself to fit inside his world. If you've ever felt small in a relationship that was supposed to make you grow, if you've ever doubted your worth because someone convinced you that you weren't enough, this story is for you. Sometimes you have to lose everything you thought you wanted to discover what you truly deserve, and I deserved so much more than I was accepting. I never imagined my life would change because of a poorly hidden letter buried beneath a pile of bills on the kitchen counter. It was a Tuesday evening in late September, one of those rare, perfect New York days when the sun promises everything will be all right, even as your gut tells you otherwise. I had gotten home early from the office, exhilarated. A case I'd been fighting for weeks had finally ended in a historic victory for my clients, and for the first time in years, I left work feeling like I had conquered the world. I couldn't wait to share the triumph with Julian, my fiancé of 3 years, maybe even suggest we go out to celebrate. The apartment was eerily quiet. Julian was still at the hospital, or so I thought. As a chief resident in cardiothoracic surgery, his hours were unpredictable, and I had long grown used to eating alone. It was while I was tidying up the mountain of mail that I saw it. An elegant envelope, its edges slightly crumpled, tucked away amongst junk mail and utility bills. My heart hammered against my ribs when I saw my name printed on the front. Ava Rodriguez, Esquire. Not Mr. and Mrs. Harrison, or Dr. Julian Harrison and guest, just my name. With trembling fingers, I opened the envelope and read the invitation twice before the words fully registered. The New York Medical and Legal Association was honored to invite Ava Rodriguez, Esquire, to its annual gala, in recognition of young professionals who have made a significant impact in their respective fields. Ms. Rodriguez had been selected as one of the 30 under 30 shaping the future of the city. I reread it, again and again, as if the words might vanish. I had been recognized, not as Julian's fiancé, not as someone's guest, as Ava Rodriguez, the corporate attorney who just won a landmark case against a massive company exploiting immigrant workers. But why was this hidden? And why hadn't Julian mentioned it? I called his hospital. "Hi, this is Ava, Dr. Harrison's fiancé. Is he available for a quick call?" The receptionist's voice was chipper. "Oh, hi, Ava. Dr. Harrison left about an hour ago. He said he had an important engagement and wouldn't be back until tomorrow morning." An important engagement on a Tuesday night without me? I collapsed onto the sleek beige leather sofa Julian had chosen, ignoring my suggestion for a more vibrant color. I looked around the apartment. Every detail, from the neutral tones to the minimalist art on the walls, was his choice. When was the last time my opinion about our shared life was truly heard? The invitation felt impossibly heavy in my hand. It was dated 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks Julian had known about my honor and deliberately kept it a secret. I turned on my laptop and began to research the event. The NYMLA Gala was one of the most prestigious events in the city, where lawyers, doctors, and business leaders gathered to network and celebrate exceptional achievements. Being selected as one of the 30 under 30 could open doors I didn't even know existed, and Julian had hidden it from me. At 8 p.m., he walked in with that weary smile I knew so well, carrying a bouquet of white carnations, his favorite, not mine. "Hey, babe," he said, kissing my forehead absently. "Sorry I'm late. Hospital emergency." "That's odd," I said, my voice unnaturally calm. "I called the hospital, and they said you left an hour ago for an important engagement." I watched the panic flash in his eyes before being replaced by that familiar annoyance he had when I questioned him. "Oh, that. Yeah, I had to stop by the hospital first, then went to handle some red tape. Medical bureaucracy, you know," he said, taking off his coat. "How was your day?" "Interesting," I replied, lifting the invitation. "I found this in the mail. Do you have anything to tell me about it?" Julian froze, the guilt in his eyes undeniable. "Oh, that," he said, feigning a casual tone. "It came last week. I meant to tell you, but—" "It came 2 weeks ago, Julian. And why was it hidden?" He sighed, as if I were a child making an unnecessary fuss. "Ava, you know what those events are like, all politics. I just thought you'd be bored." "Bored? Julian, I was selected as one of the city's most promising professionals. This kind of recognition could change my career." "Exactly," he said, his voice now laced with an uncomfortable edge. "You know how important my reputation is right now. Those events are full of senior partners, investors, people who decide who gets into the surgical program at New York Presbyterian. What if they see you talking about your controversial cases?" The reality of his words hit me like a splash of cold water. "Are you saying you hid my invitation because you're embarrassed by my work?" "It's not embarrassment, it's strategy. I have to think about my future. Our future." "Our future?" I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. "Julian, when was the last time you asked me what I wanted for our future, or if my career matters too?" "Of course it matters, but we have to be realistic. I'm going to be a heart surgeon. That comes with a certain status, social commitments." "Social commitments?" I repeated softly. "Like having a fiancé who doesn't rock the boat?" "Ava, you're overreacting." But I wasn't, and he knew it. I had been his quiet +1 for so long. He never introduced me as my fiancée Ava, the lawyer. Just my fiancée Ava, as if my profession was something to be kept in the background. "When is the event?" I asked, looking at the invitation. "Saturday night." "Ava, please don't." "Don't what? Not go to my own damn honor?" "You don't understand the pressure I'm under. Dr. Williams will be there. He practically decides who gets into the program. What if he sees you talking about your controversial cases?" My voice rose. "Helping hundreds of immigrants get fair wages is controversial. To you, it's heroic. To them, it's bad press for business." I looked at the man I was supposed to marry in 6 months, and a terrifying realization dawned on me. I didn't recognize him. Or maybe, for the first time, I was seeing him clearly. "I'm going to the gala, Julian. I'm going because I earned my place there. And I won't let you or anyone else make me feel like I have to hide." Julian ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "If you go, you'll go alone." His words hung in the air like a threat. But for the first time in years, instead of feeling hurt, I felt liberated. "Maybe," I said, folding the invitation. "Going alone is exactly what I need to do. We slept in the same bed that night, but we might as well have been on different planets." Julian turned his back to me. I stared at the ceiling, questioning not just our 3-year relationship, but my entire life for the past 3 years. When did I start accepting being treated like an inconvenient accessory? When did I stop fighting for my place in my own story? The invitation in my purse pulsed with possibility. Saturday night. 3 days to decide not only if I would attend, but who I would be when I got there. For the first time in a very long time, the idea of being alone didn't scare me. In fact, it was beginning to feel a lot like freedom. The next morning, I woke up with a mental clarity I hadn't felt in years. Julian had already left for the hospital, according to the cold, impersonal note on the fridge. Left early, back late. Think about what we talked about. Think about it, as if I were a stubborn child who would eventually see reason. I made my coffee. Not the strong espresso Julian liked, but the sweet latte I adored and had stopped making to accommodate his taste. I sat on our small balcony overlooking the city skyline. It was one of those rare, perfect days in New York, and a gentle breeze brought the scent of fresh bagels from the bakery downstairs. I called my best friend, Carmen. We had been inseparable since law school, but had drifted apart because Julian always had an excuse to avoid my friends' gatherings, calling them too loud or unprofessional. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Honestly, I don't remember seeing you truly happy in a while," Carmen replied. Her words hurt, but they were true. "What do you really think of Julian?" I asked. "I think Julian is the type of man who needs to be the center of everything, and you got so used to orbiting around him that you forgot what it feels like to be at the center of your own life." Tears welled up in my eyes, but they were tears of relief. Finally, someone said aloud what I had been feeling. I told her everything. The invitation, Julian's reaction, the veiled threat that if I went, I would go alone. "That son of a bitch!" Carmen erupted. "Do you realize how manipulative that is? He literally hid your professional recognition because he didn't want you to outshine him." "I know, it's just... we've invested so much time. We're engaged. The wedding is in 6 months." "The sunk cost fallacy," Carmen said instantly. "Just because you've invested time doesn't mean you should keep investing in something that's clearly not working." What if he's right? What if I'm being selfish by insisting on going? "Ava Rodriguez," she said, using my full name as she did in college when she wanted me to listen. "Are you saying going to your own professional recognition ceremony is selfish?" Put that way, it sounded absurd. "You know what you're going to do? You're going to buy the most spectacular dress you can find. You're going to that gala, and you're going to show everyone, especially yourself, why you deserve to be there." After we hung up, I sat on the balcony for almost an hour, watching the city below. The pulse of the city felt vibrant and alive. When was the last time I pursued something I truly wanted? At 10 a.m., I was at a trendy boutique in Soho. The first store was too conservative, beautiful dresses, but the kind that don't make waves. I had been wearing that type of clothing for years. "I'm looking for a dress for a gala," I told the saleswoman. "Something that makes me feel powerful." She smiled. "What kind of event is it?" "I'm being recognized as one of the city's most influential young professionals." "Congratulations! Then we need something that lives up to that achievement." I tried on several dresses, but none of them felt right. They were all too safe. It was at the third boutique that I found it. A deep blue, almost midnight-colored gown with silver embroidery that caught the light in a subtle but stunning way. It wasn't scandalous or loud. It was elegant, sophisticated, but it was anything but invisible. "That dress was made for you," the saleswoman said when I stepped out of the dressing room. I looked in the mirror. And for the first time in years, I genuinely liked what I saw. Not because someone else approved, but because I felt like me, a more confident, celebrated, and awake version of myself. I'll take it. The next 2 days passed in a tense fog. Julian and I barely spoke, moving through the apartment like two polite strangers. I wasn't going to pretend everything was fine. On Saturday morning, I woke up with an energy I hadn't felt in a very long time. Julian was making coffee. "Still planning on going tonight?" he asked, his voice cold. "Yes." "Ava, last chance to reconsider. We can find a solution that works for both of us." "What kind of solution?" "You go, you stay for an hour, say hello to a few people, and we leave early. I'll go with you, but we'll keep a low profile." It was the exact type of compromise I would have accepted a year ago. To go, but not really be there. To be recognized, but in a muted way. To have my moment, but only if it didn't bother anyone. "No, Julian," I said. "I deserve to be there completely, not halfway. I deserve to celebrate my achievement without worrying about inconveniencing anyone or harming someone else's career." He slammed his coffee cup down. "Then you've made your choice. I chose to value myself. If that's a problem for you, maybe we need to have a much more serious conversation about our future." He looked at me as if he were seeing a stranger. The Ava of the last 3 years would have backed down, but this Ava, or maybe the original one that had been asleep, wasn't willing to shrink anymore. "Have you changed?" he asked. "Yes," I replied, "and it's for the better." That night, Julian worked on his laptop in the living room while I pretended to read a book in bed. My mind raced, replaying not just our conversation, but years of small concessions that had led me here. Saturday night was just 2 days away, and for the first time in a long time, I was genuinely excited to discover what the future held. The Uber arrived at 6:15 p.m. I was ready, not just physically, but emotionally. The Plaza Hotel was a vision, shimmering with golden lights against the twilight sky. It was as I stepped out of the car that I saw him. Leo Sanchez was standing near the entrance, adjusting his cuffs, looking visibly uncomfortable in his pristine tuxedo. I knew him by reputation. He was an architect specializing in social housing, and we had crossed paths a couple of times at civil rights events. But we had never really talked. He saw me too, and our eyes met in the sea of elegant people. Leo smiled, a genuine, admiring smile. "Ava Rodriguez," he said, approaching. "Great to see you here." "You too, Leo. How are you?" "Better now," he said, and something in his voice made me blush. "You look stunning." "Thank you. You're very dapper yourself." "Can I confess something? I'm terrified. These kinds of events make me so uncomfortable." I laughed, instantly at ease with his sincerity. "Me too. I almost didn't come." "Seriously? But you were selected for that amazing list, weren't you?" "The 30 under 30. "That's incredible. I read the New York Times article about your case against Hartman Industries. It was so inspiring to see someone fighting for immigrant workers. My dad was one of those workers 20 years ago." There was something about the way he spoke, respectful, without a hint of condescension, that touched me deeply. "Thank you. That really means a lot." "Ava," he said, hesitating, "I know we barely know each other, but are you here alone tonight?" "I am." "Me too. I was thinking, since we're both nervous and here alone, maybe we could go in together, as colleagues who support each other." I looked at him. Leo was in his early 30s, with kind brown eyes and a smile that seemed genuinely interested in what I had to say. He reminded me of why I chose to go into law in the first place. "I'd love that," I replied. We walked into the main ballroom, and it felt like stepping into a golden dream. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over tables decorated with white and gold flowers. A jazz orchestra played, and hundreds of elegantly dressed people mingled with glasses of champagne. But the most surprising thing was how different I felt walking in with Leo. Not inferior, not nervous, but equal, as if I belonged there. "Want some champagne?" Leo asked. "I'd love some." While he went to get the drinks, I looked around and recognized several faces: legal colleagues, famous doctors, and entrepreneurs. But instead of feeling intimidated, I felt curious, eager to meet them, to talk about our work and the changes we wanted to make in the city. Leo returned with 2 glasses. We spent the next 40 minutes circulating together. With Julian, I often felt like a footnote in his introductions. With Leo, it was different. "This is Ava Rodriguez," he would say with genuine pride, "the lawyer who just won that incredible case against Hartman Industries." Then, "Ava, meet Dr. Patricia Williams. She's revolutionizing pediatric care in underserved communities." Leo didn't just introduce me, he celebrated me, and most importantly, he truly listened when I spoke. He asked intelligent questions about my work and included me naturally in every conversation. We were talking with a group of social entrepreneurs when someone tapped me on the shoulder. "Ava?" I turned and saw Mr. Richard Collins, a senior partner at one of the most prestigious corporate law firms in New York. "Mr. Collins, a pleasure to meet you in person." "The pleasure's all mine. I read about your work on the Hartman case, a brilliant strategy. In fact, I'm here with some colleagues and we'd like to talk to you about some opportunities." My heart raced. An opportunity with Collins and Associates was career-changing. I would be honored. "Perfect. Are you with anyone tonight?" "Yes," Leo said, extending his hand. "Leo Sanchez, architect. And I'm very proud to be here with Ava." Mr. Collins shook his hand with respect. "Sanchez, aren't you the architect behind the social housing project in East Harlem?" "That's me." "Impressive work. My wife is a community psychologist and she can't stop talking about the positive impact your designs are having on that community." And there it was, another fundamental difference. Leo wasn't threatened when others recognized my work. On the contrary, he seemed genuinely happy for me. "Ava," Mr. Collins continued, "how about we have lunch on Monday? I have a proposal I think you'll find interesting." After he walked away, I stared at Leo, stunned. "That was incredible," he finished for me. "Do you realize how impressive that was? Richard Collins doesn't talk to just anyone. I can't believe it actually happened." "I can. You deserve it. And so much more." There was something in the way he said it, with complete conviction, that made me see the brutal contrast with my life of the past few years. When dinner was announced, we went to our respective tables, mine at table 5, his at table 6, right next to me. The table was full of other honorees, all brilliant young professionals making a difference in their fields. For the first time in a long time, I felt exactly where I was supposed to be. But it was during dessert that everything changed. "Ladies and gentlemen," the host announced, "it's time to present the Standout Couple of the Night Award." My stomach churned. I didn't know such a prize existed. I was here without my fiancé, with someone I barely knew. "This year," the host continued, "the award goes to a couple who arrived separately tonight, but who, throughout the evening, demonstrated the kind of support and connection that inspires everyone around them. Ava Rodriguez and Leo Sanchez." For a moment, I thought I had misheard. People started to applaud, and I saw Leo at his table, just as surprised as I was. "Go on," someone at my table said. laughing. Leo came over and offered me his hand. "I think they caught us off guard," he whispered. We went up to the stage to a wave of enthusiastic applause. The host handed us an elegant trophy. Ava and Leo reminded us tonight that the best relationships are those where each person sincerely celebrates the other's success. Seeing them together, how Leo proudly introduced Ava, how Ava included Leo in every conversation, how they both shone when the other was recognized, showed us what a true partnership looks like. I looked at Leo, who was smiling at me with an expression I couldn't quite decipher. There was admiration, yes, but also something deeper. "Would you like to say a few words?" the host asked. Leo looked at me and I nodded. "Well," he began, his voice clear in the microphone, "I'll admit I got to know Ava more tonight than ever before, but sometimes the best connections are the ones you recognize immediately." He turned to me. "Ava, you are an extraordinary person. Your passion for justice, your intelligence, your elegance, all of it shines in a way that can't be ignored. And anyone lucky enough to be by your side should feel honored, not threatened, by your light." His words were exactly what I needed to hear. I took the microphone. "Leo, tonight you showed me what it's like to be truly seen and valued. This award is about partnership, and you showed me tonight what a real partnership should be." The applause was warm and prolonged. When we came down from the stage, many people congratulated us. But it was when I saw Julian standing near the entrance that everything stopped. He had come. He was impeccably dressed, but his expression was one of pure shock. He had seen me go on stage with another man. He had heard me talk about being seen and celebrated. He had witnessed exactly what he was losing. "Ava," Leo said softly, following my gaze. "Do you know him?" "He's my fiancé," I replied, the word feeling strange on my tongue. "Oh," Leo said slowly. "Do you want to?" "No," I said, surprised by my own firmness. Julian started to approach, but I turned to Leo. "Would you like to dance with me?" The smile he gave me was all the answer I needed. We danced 3 songs in a row, talking about our work, our dreams, and the small things that make life interesting. It was natural, comfortable, stimulating. It was everything I had forgotten a connection could be. Near midnight, we decided to leave. Julian had disappeared at some point. Leo walked me to the valet stand. "Ava," he said, "I know you have a complicated situation to resolve, but when you do, I would love to get to know you better. For real." I looked at this man who had, in one night, shown me what it was to be truly valued, and I smiled. I'd love that too. He kissed my hand gently. "Congratulations on the award and for allowing yourself to shine." During the ride home, I looked at the trophy on the seat beside me and replayed the entire night in my mind. I had gone to the gala to prove something to Julian, but I had ended up proving something much more important to myself. I deserve to be seen. I deserve to be celebrated. I deserve to be valued. And I don't need to shrink myself for others to be comfortable with my light. The apartment was dark when I arrived. Julian hadn't returned, or if he had, he was already gone again. And for the first time in years, I didn't care where he was. I left the trophy on the coffee table, kicked off my heels, and sat on the sofa. I knew difficult decisions were coming, uncomfortable conversations, real change. But for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid of the future. I was excited about it. That Sunday morning, I woke up wrapped in the throw blanket on the sofa, still in my beautiful blue dress. The trophy was on the coffee table, a golden, crystalline reminder that the night before had not been a dream. My neck was sore from sleeping in an awkward position, but my heart felt lighter than it had in years. Julian was in the kitchen when I got up, already dressed for his typical Sunday routine. But instead of lacing his running shoes, he was just sitting at the table, staring out the window with an expression I couldn't read. "Morning," I said, my voice still groggy. He turned to me, and I saw that he hadn't slept. "Morning," he replied, his voice strangely calm. "How was the rest of your night?" There was no sarcasm or reproach, just genuine curiosity. It was revelatory. Julian nodded slowly. "I saw you, on stage, with him. Leo. You looked natural together." I poured myself a cup of coffee, needing to do something with my hands. "Julian, about last night." "Ava," he interrupted softly. "Before you say anything, I need to tell you something." I sat down at the table, bracing myself. "After you left, I couldn't stop thinking about what you said, that I've never sacrificed anything for your career. You were right." He paused. "So I called Carmen." My stomach dropped. "You called Carmen?" I asked her, "When was the last time you saw Ava genuinely happy?" She said she couldn't remember. His words hung in the air. Julian continued. "Then I went to the gala. I was there for 40 minutes in the parking lot, trying to work up the courage to go inside. Courage to go into the event where my fiancé was being honored." He finally looked at me. "When I finally went inside, I saw you. You were talking to a group of people, laughing, completely present. And for a moment, I didn't recognize you. You were radiant, confident, alive in a way I hadn't seen in years. I realized the last time I saw you like that was before we got serious. And then I saw you with him, with Leo. The way he looked at you, Ava, was the way I should have been looking at you. With admiration, with pride, as if you were the most fascinating person in the room." "Julian, let me finish. When they named you the standout couple, when you went on stage, the way you two complimented each other, I understood. I've spent the last 3 years trying to turn you into a smaller version of yourself, and you got so used to shrinking that you forgot how to shine. Ava, I love you. But I think I fell in love with a version of you I created in my head, someone happy to be my shadow. And now I realize the woman I truly love, the real Ava, is so much bigger than the box I tried to put you in. If I truly love you, I have to let you be who you are, even if it means losing you." The silence that followed was thick, but not awkward. It was the silence of two people finally being honest. "Julian," I said at last, "you're right. I made myself small. And it wasn't just because of you. I allowed it, because it was easier than fighting for my own space. But last night I remembered who I was before I started trying to be who you wanted me to be." Julian nodded, tears in his eyes. "And what does that mean for us?" "It means we have to be honest about who we are and what we want," I said. "You want a partner who puts your career first, who will be the perfect wife for a successful surgeon, someone who doesn't make waves. And you want?" "I want someone who celebrates my achievements instead of feeling threatened by them. I want a partner who sees me as an equal, not an accessory. I want to build a life where we can both shine without one of us having to dim our light for the other. Do you think I can't be that person?" I took a deep breath. "You could try to be that person, but it would be changing for me, just like I changed for you. And that's not fair to either of us." "You're right," he said. "I could try, but deep down, I'd always be uncomfortable if you outshone me, and you'd always resent having to make yourself small. We both know what we have to do." I looked at the man I had loved for 3 years and felt a deep sadness, but also an enormous sense of relief. "I'm going to miss you," I said. "Me too, Ava. But you deserve to be loved exactly as you are, completely, without conditions. You too, Julian. He smiled, the first genuine smile I had seen in months. Maybe we're better people than we were a couple. Definitely. We spent the rest of the morning sorting out practical matters, surprisingly civilly. "What about Leo?" Julian asked. "I saw the way you looked at him. There was something there." I blushed. "I barely know him." "But you'd like to get to know him better?" It wasn't a question. "Yes," I admitted. "He seems like the kind of man who will celebrate you, not try to change you." "He seems like it," Julian said. "You should call him. I want you to find someone who deserves you completely." That afternoon, Julian packed some things and left. There was no drama, no shouting, just a mature, respectful goodbye. When he was gone, I was alone in the apartment for the first time in 3 years. But instead of feeling abandoned, I felt free. I took out the card Leo had given me. "For when you're ready for the next adventure." I took a deep breath and texted him. "Hi Leo, it's Ava. I'm ready for that conversation we talked about." The reply came in less than 5 minutes. "Ava, so happy to hear from you. How about coffee tomorrow? I know the perfect place to talk about architecture, law, and all the ways we can change the world." I smiled, texting back. "Sounds perfect. Can't wait." And for the first time in years, it was completely true. 6 months later, I was sitting on the terrace of my new apartment in Brooklyn Heights, watching the sunrise while sipping my sweet latte. The move had been both symbolic and practical. My new apartment was smaller, but it had personality. Every piece of furniture, every piece of art had been chosen for one reason: because I liked it. My phone vibrated with a message from Leo. "Morning, gorgeous. Ready for today?" Today was special. It was the official launch of my own law firm, Rodriguez and Associates, specializing in labor rights and immigration. After that lunch with Mr. Collins, more meetings and opportunities followed, until I knew I was ready for something bigger. "Nervous and excited," I texted back. "I'll be there," Leo replied. "So proud of you." In the past 6 months, Leo had become so much more than I ever imagined. He was a partner in the truest sense. He celebrated my victories, supported me through challenges, and never for a second made me feel like I had to be smaller. He was with me when I cancelled the wedding, helped me pack my things, and was the first person I called when I decided to open my own firm. "Are you sure?" he asked. "It's a big risk." "I'm sure," I said. "For the first time in my life, I'm building something that is completely mine. Then I'm with you all the way. How can I help?" That was always Leo's way. Support came first, practical questions second. My new office smelled of fresh paint and new furniture. It was small, just me and 2 assistants, but it was mine. The sign on the door read simply, "Ava Rodriguez Esquerre, Labor and Immigration Attorney." My first clients arrived at 9 a.m., a group of women who had been exploited by their employer. "Ms. Rodriguez," one of them said in Spanish, "they told us you really fight for people like us." "I'm going to fight with you," I corrected. "Together, we'll get the justice you deserve." The day flew by. At 6 p.m., guests started to arrive for the inauguration event. Carmen was one of the first. "Oh my God, Ava!" she exclaimed, hugging me tight. "This place is perfect. It's so you." "Thank you for believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." "I always knew you'd get here. I was just waiting for you to know it too." Leo arrived soon after, a bottle of champagne in hand and a proud smile that made me blush. "How does it feel, boss?" he asked, kissing me softly. "Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." "You are, and you look radiant." An hour later, I saw Julian walk in with a woman I recognized as Dr. Sarah Chen, a surgical resident. They looked good together. She was calm where he was extroverted, and he seemed genuinely interested when she talked about her work. "Ava," Julian said. "Congratulations. The place looks incredible." "Julian, what a surprise. Thanks for coming." "I wouldn't miss it. Sarah, this is Ava, the person I told you about." "Ava, Sarah, it's nice to meet you," she said with a firm handshake. "Julian talks about you a lot. All good things." It was strange, but comforting. Seeing Julian with someone who truly fit him. "How are you two?" I asked. "Good," Julian said, with a lightness in his voice I hadn't heard in years. "Really good. You and Leo?" "Also really good. He's what I didn't know I was looking for. I'm happy for you both. You look perfect together. You two as well." We chatted for a few more minutes about life and how different everything felt when you lived from a place of truth instead of trying to fit into molds. "Ava," Julian said before leaving, "thank you." "Thank you for what?" "For having the courage to end our relationship when you knew it wasn't working. You freed me as much as you freed yourself. You were right about everything. You deserve someone who celebrates you completely, and you've clearly found him." After he left, Leo came over with 2 glasses of champagne. "How do you feel about all that?" he asked. "Good. It's strange, but seeing him happy confirms we made the right choice. Sometimes 2 good people just aren't good together." "Exactly. And sometimes you find the right person at the right time in the most unexpected way." Leo clinked his glass against mine. "Sometimes you go to a gala alone and end up not only with professional recognition, but with someone who teaches you what it's like to be truly seen." We drank our champagne, watching the office fill with people. "Speech, speech!" Carmen yelled, tapping a glass. "Okay, okay," I said, a smile on my face. A year ago, I was living a life that, on paper, seemed perfect, but it didn't fit me. I was trying to be a smaller version of myself, not to inconvenience anyone, not to take up too much space, not to shine too brightly. But sometimes, life has a curious way of pushing us to face who we really are. Sometimes a hidden invitation becomes the key to our liberation. I looked at Leo, who watched me with that pride that made me feel invincible. This firm isn't just a new professional chapter. It's a decision to stop apologizing for existing, for having a voice, for wanting more than just to please others. To any woman here who has felt small in a relationship that was supposed to make her grow, you are enough. You deserve to be loved exactly as you are. No edits, no cuts, no shrinking. The applause was long, warm, and sincere. As people began to disperse, I stayed on the back terrace with Leo, watching the city lights. "A penny for your thoughts?" he asked. "Just thinking about how a single year can change everything. You changed your life." "With some help," I said, leaning into him. "With a lot of help." "Ava, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you ever regret it? Ending things with Julian? Starting over?" I looked at this man who taught me that real love doesn't reduce you, it expands you. Never. Not for a second. Because for the first time in my adult life, I'm living my own story, not being a supporting actress in someone else's. "And what an incredible story it's turning out to be," he said. "And it's just getting started." 3 months later, we were back at the same hotel where it all began, but this time for a different occasion. The New York Bar Association was recognizing me as Lawyer of the Year. Leo was by my side, holding my hand. "Nervous?" he asked. "A little. But this time it's different. Last time I was afraid of not fitting in. This time I'm nervous because I know I do fit in." And that comes with a responsibility to use this platform to make a difference, to show other women they can build the life they want, even if it means disappointing the people who'd prefer to see them small. When my name was called and I went on stage, I looked out at the audience. I saw familiar faces. Carmen, radiant in the front row, my first clients. And I saw Julian, sitting with Sarah a few tables back, applauding sincerely. There was no resentment, just the honest recognition of someone who had known a past version of me and was happy about who I had become. "A year ago," I said into the microphone, "a very wise person told me that sometimes the best thing that can happen to us is losing what we thought we wanted, to discover what we truly deserve." I looked at Leo, who was watching me with that look that never grew tired. I discovered that I deserved to be seen completely, loved unconditionally, and celebrated constantly, not for being perfect, but for being authentic. The applause was deafening. After the ceremony, Leo and I walked along the Santa Monica Pier, me with my heels in my hand, his jacket over my shoulders. The ocean air, the gentle waves, the city lights behind us. It was perfect. "Ava," he said, stopping suddenly. He knelt on the sand and pulled a small box from his pocket. My heart stopped. "Ava Rodriguez, you are the most incredible woman I've ever met. You shine in a way that illuminates everything around you, including me. I want to spend the rest of my life by your side, supporting you, celebrating you, growing with you. Not because I need you to complete me, but because I choose to build a life with you." He opened the box. An elegant, simple ring, exactly my style. "Will you marry me?" "Yes," I said, laughing and crying at the same time. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." Leo placed the ring on my finger and kissed me right there on the beach. "I love you, Ava Rodriguez." "And I love you, Leo Sanchez." And this time, I knew exactly what that meant. It meant building a life where we could both be completely ourselves. It meant celebrating each other's achievements without competition. It meant unconditional support, mutual growth, and the certainty that I would never have to shrink again to fit into a space someone had assigned to me. It meant, finally, being home within my own life. We married 6 months later, surrounded by family and friends. When we exchanged vows, I didn't promise to be a perfect wife. I promised to be his true partner, to grow with him, to support him unconditionally, and never allow our love to make me less than I am. And he promised to always truly see me and never be threatened by my light. Today, 2 years into our marriage, I'm sitting in our shared office. He designs social housing. I fight for the rights of the people who will live in them. It's a true partnership in every sense of the word. On my wall, in a golden frame, is the standout couple trophy we won that first night at the Gala. Not because we need external validation, but because it represents the moment I understood that real love doesn't require us to turn off our light. It requires us to find someone who wants to shine right beside us. And if you're a woman reading this who has ever felt small, invisible, or too much in your relationship, you are not the problem. You don't need to be less for someone to love you. You deserve someone who celebrates you exactly as you are, who is proud of your achievements, and who will never ask you to hide. If that means being alone for a while until you find that person, it is so worth it, because in the end, being alone and authentic is infinitely better than being partnered and invisible. The life I built isn't perfect, but it is mine. Every decision, every challenge, every victory reflects who I really am, not what someone else expected of me. And that, I discovered, is the only real way to live. I'm writing these words from the terrace of our home in Pasadena, watching Leo play in the garden with our 2-year-old daughter, Sophia. She inherited my curls and her father's kind eyes, but most importantly, she inherited a natural confidence that I hope she never loses. Today marks 5 years since that gala night that changed my life. 5 years since I stopped apologizing for existing and started celebrating who I am. The Rodriguez and Sanchez firm now occupies an entire building in downtown Los Angeles. We have a team of 12 lawyers and 6 architects, all dedicated to making real change in the community. We've won cases that changed laws. We've designed housing that transformed entire neighborhoods. And most importantly, we built a workspace where no one has to make themselves small to fit in. Sophia runs to me with a flower she picked from the garden, a crushed yellow daisy, which she offers to me with the utmost pride. "For you, Mommy." "Thank you, my love. It's the most beautiful flower I've ever seen." Leo comes over, smiling, and kisses my forehead. "What are you thinking about?" he asks. "I'm writing about our story, for Sophia, for when she's older." "What kind of story?" "About how sometimes we lose ourselves trying to please others, and what it takes to find the courage to come back home, to our essence. And what's the moral?" I look at our daughter, who is now trying to convince the dog to wear a flower crown, completely confident her plan will work. That we should never make ourselves small so that other people can feel big. That true love multiplies our light, it doesn't dim it. And that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is choose our own happiness, even if it disappoints those who would rather see us shrink. Leo smiles, taking my hand, and that every woman deserves someone who will dance with her in the spotlight, not push her into the shadows. Exactly. Sophia runs back to us, this time with a butterfly that landed on her hand. "Look, Mommy, it's free." "Yes, my love, it is free." And as the butterfly flies away, soaring high into the California sky, I feel a deep gratitude for having learned to be free too. Free to be exactly who I am, loved for it, and determined to teach my daughter that she never, ever has to shrink to fit into someone else's limited vision of her. The life I built is loud, imperfect, full of challenges and constant change, but it is mine, completely, authentically, joyfully mine. And that, I discovered, is the only real way to live. If this story resonated with you, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel for more stories of personal growth and triumph. Like this video to show your support, and leave a comment below sharing a time when you chose to put yourself first. Your story could inspire someone else to take their first step toward a life of authenticity and freedom.